Hello, welcome.
Hi.
This is Echoes of Home, Season 2, Episode 5. We have the lovely co-host Erin here and a lovely guest, Naema Pierce. The fierce, powerful, wonderful Naema.
Thank you. Woo-hoo. Happy to be here with y'all.
We're so
Happy
excited
to have you.
So,
We'll just riff off of the title and see where it goes, but we're talking about the portal within, pelvic wisdom, pleasure, and the power of self-intimacy are some of the topics that we'd like to cover today. So I think we should start with like how we know Naema and how Naema came into this work. And Kelly first found Naema as a practitioner and a therapist, so why don't you tell us a little bit about how that came to be?
you know, I was thinking about that leading up to today, and I don't know when it was that we met, but it was sometime between now and 2020, maybe 2021.
Yeah.
And I think we knew of each other socially, had similar friends, but yeah, I think I was coming to Naema when I was trying to conceive, trying all the things, and had heard about her work here locally in Asheville. And not many months after I started seeing her, I conceived. And can you tell me a little bit about the work we were doing together at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I remember you came to me for abdominal, womb, belly work, specifically because you were trying to conceive. Yeah. And I remember you coming in and I was like, I like this woman. She knows her shit. She knows her body in a lot of ways. You like were tracking your cycle and you came in with all of your wisdom and you're like, I know that this is happening here and there. And sometimes those are my favorite people to work with because like there is this like dynamic dance we get to hold together. And it's not that I need all my clients by any means at all to like understand everything about their bodies, but yeah, I just felt like we clicked in that way because there was that deep like intellect knowledge you had of your body and like connection to it. And then I feel like the work that we did together really brought in a lot of like the deeper energetic emotional aspects that were a part of the journey of getting pregnant for you at that time. Yeah. You know, like trying to conceive, there can be so many different emotions that I think come up for women around like desire and can I and what's going on in my body and here another month's gone by and I'm not pregnant yet or whatever that is. And so a lot of my work has to do with holding the entirety, the holistic experience of like energetic, emotional, physical, lots of grounded physical support, but holding the soul of the person and like really not segmenting those different pieces of your experience of your journey, in that case trying to get pregnant, which is only one little small area. You know, I've worked in, I help women with all sorts of things, but yeah, so I feel like that's what we were doing a lot together, was really like getting that whole rounded experience along that journey of like crossing that threshold for you, that rite of passage of like stepping into motherhood.
Yeah, and what I remember back then, you were doing a lot of massage therapy and then doing Mayan, forgive me if I say it wrong, Mayan abdominal massage. But now you've sort of transformed into a different version of working. Yeah. And I can remember you sending me the email when I scheduled an appointment.
That's right.
Or the message just letting me know the new style of work that you're doing and wanting to know if I was game. And for me, the experience of the new work that you're doing has, you know, it's felt very much like what we were kind of doing organically between the two of us anyway.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about what you were doing then versus what you're doing now and how you got to wanting to make that change?
Yeah. Well, I'll just share for like listeners what I do. Yeah. Which is like, I'm a pelvic specialist and a somatic sexuality coach for women. And so that spans a lot of different realms, but like I have an in-person practice here in Asheville where I see women in person and we do body work amongst many things. I'll get into the details of that here in a second. And then I work remotely online and do like, I have a couple different courses and programs where I teach women about their sexuality and cycle and coming into self-connection with their bodies and pleasure and overcoming different experiences like trauma, etc. And so where my work kind of used to be, I think now that you're reminding me as we're talking about it, like when we met, was, like for a long period of time, my introduction into body work came through like going to traditional bodywork school, but then I took the pathway of women's health and got really interested in women's health, and from my own obsession with like studying the menstrual cycle and just being fascinated with the female physiology and our bodies and the magic of it. And that led me into Mayan abdominal massage. That was like one of my first introductions to doing deeper, more holistic work with women outside of the realms of pregnancy. Because even to this day, when I'm like, I'm a pelvic specialist and I work with women in these ways, most people are like, oh, you work with pregnant women.
Right.
And actually, like, I don't, it's very even rare I work with a woman that's pregnant. And what I felt really excited about in my life was helping women with different phases of just the whole journey of being a woman, whether that's from like, I have this issue with my cycle, or I just feel disconnected, or like, people talk about your womb. What do you mean about connecting to your womb? Or people have had sexual trauma, or like, that's really my jam in there.
Yeah, I think a lot of times women, like the only time we're giving attention or focus to the womb is one, when something is wrong, like painful periods or irregular periods, or when we're trying to get pregnant or just had a baby. And then other than that, it's just like, okay, like
totally
no attention, no focus.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I feel really passionate about like helping women through all the other, and I don't even want to say like helping, it's just like being in intimate connection with all the different, like, it's not like I'm here to heal this thing all of the time. It's like, oh, people come to see me because they're like, I think there's something else. And that's what we're doing there. So like at the time, Mayan abdominal massage was one of my entry pathways into that work. And one of my first teachers was this Mayan midwife in Guatemala, and she like took me under her wing and really like, I made her take me under her wing. I was like, will you please mentor me? And she did. And that led me into pelvic work as well. But what you're kind of speaking of, where my body work was and then what it has become over the last 4 years or so, was just really inspired from this place within myself of like me yearning to have a place. Like I wanted to create the type of place that I was yearning for to have when it come to like being held, which was like, you know, I go to get massages or go to get body work, or I have my therapist, and it's like, they're all great, like they're good. But I often still feel like this experience of like, okay, like this is here for that, and I have to go over here for this, and I'm gonna get a bodywork session, but like I'm still actually kind of holding myself subtly or strongly in my emotional experience as you're like unringing my tissue, and because I'm not really like, you're not really here to hold my emotions as you massage me or something, you know. So for me it was like, I want a place where we're not going to be like fragmenting the experience, and it's like what you're emotionally experiencing or what you're thinking or what you're coming in there with, like looping thoughts, and like that's a part of the, like, we're gonna dance with it all, and there's like a lot of inquiry I use during session, and verbal guidance and energetic guidance, and that's what's just juicy, and I think what most people are really wanting at the end of the day. And that does like break down some of the rules of like people being like, be in your scope of practice, you know? And I'm like, women are...
I know. I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about my personal experiences with you, and just that emotional layer, and how we as women, you know, even women who have certain awarenesses or deeper awarenesses about our cycles or our health, like having that additional support from a trusted therapist it really does, you know, not only broaden the connection, like, oh, I wasn't really seeing all of this, but it deepens it as well. And that emotional component of working with women, because many a times when I've worked with you, you know, the questions that you're asking me and the things that you're inquiring about are not on like the level of awareness that I'm currently functioning on in the outside world. So it immediately kind of cuts through to like just a different consciousness, I think, more like more deeper within. Like, it's there within me all the time, this knowledge, this wisdom, but I'm not asking these questions. So yeah, can you talk about that a little bit, and maybe like some of your experiences, like how do you go into those, how do you navigate the emotional landscape in order to go deeper?
Yeah.
Great question.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really nuanced. You know,
Yeah,
like
I'd
some of
imagine.
this is like, some of it comes from just like a lot of training I've done. Where
Yeah.
It's like I've done a lot of trauma resolution trainings. I've done a lot of like programs around embodying spirit, and I've done sex, love, and relationship coaching programs that have given me this huge foundational way of like understand. Like, I'm a nerd in that, like, I understand the nervous system and the neuroscience of how we work as as emotional beings, and I use all of that. So there's that. Like, we can go and we can learn these things. But then there's this whole other aspect that has been a growing experience through being a practitioner over the years of like learning how to listen into the field, your body and what I'm experiencing, picking up, and like what's happening. And it's not something like, when I say that, I think sometimes people can be like, oh, you maybe have a special gift or da-da-da, and it's like, I mean, maybe, like what I was gonna say was like, growing up in the household I grew up in, there was a lot of fucking intensity, and there was a lot of traumatic experiences that happened that made me actually hyper vigilant.
Yeah,
me
it was a
too,
trauma
sister.
response.
Yeah, me too.
I got that one.
So all the people that like, not all, but a lot of healers out there, when you get back to their origin stories, a lot of the times it's like, oh, you grew up in a really intense situation for a period of time at one point, and you had to become so hypervigilant that like the way, like, you learned as an adaptive strategy to track what was happening at all the time. So there was like people or energy or whatever. So like, I have that, and I've like, we could call it a trauma. It is, sure, but it's become this really beautiful gift too, that I can track situations, you know? And then taking that a layer deeper of like what I'm talking about of like reading the field, it's a journey of growing into, feeling into the energy that's in this space with the energy that's in your body, and not second guessing too much what is coming through. And it's a huge practice. Like, I taught a practitioner training program last year for pelvics, for people that want to do pelvic and womb work. And we worked primarily teaching that. It's like, how do you work with the unseen? How do you work with emotions? How do you listen to what you're picking up and not questioning it, and having the confidence to bring it forth? But if they, if I'm like, hey, I'm really feeling this like jittery thing in your system, it kind of is reminding me of this, like, does that mean anything to you? And you're like, no, it doesn't. That I'm not like, oh God, I got it wrong. Right. But I'm like, okay, like, there's this thing that happened just last week. I was giving a session to a client, and it was that I was touching on her belt, and I was like, it feels like there's it feels so jittery, it feels so electric. Like, and I said, I was like, do you feel some jittery electricity? Do you feel what I'm feeling? Yeah. And she was like, no, I don't. I'm like, okay. But I don't go into like, that's wrong. Right. 45 minutes later in the session, it comes out, she's like, yeah, I was pumped with heavy metals during chemotherapy, and I'm trying to like do all this detox, and it feels like I'm just really electric all the time. And I'm like, there you go. And so it's not about the like, I guess to answer.
But I love that, because it's like, I've experienced as well. It's not something, I mean, we're taking in so much on so many levels as just human beings in this modern world, and for many centuries, but to have the support of someone reflecting back to you, it almost like, in that moment doesn't correlate, and then like the safer you feel and the more you feel held, and you're able to like unlock. And I think that's like kind of the magic of the womb is my understanding.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say like the majority of what my intention in my work is when I'm guiding any type of session, whether it's in person or online, it's like, I'm there to like help create the conditions for that safety.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that I'm inherently like the safety person, but like we're creating conditions again and again and again where your system can find more safety and more safety and more safety.
Yeah.
Because when we do feel safer, that's when like something unfurls or uncurls, or a different awareness can come, or something from our subconscious wants to come forward. Then, because it's like, okay, cool, we're safe enough.
Yeah.
And so it's really like what you said, it's the safety is like a huge piece of what the work is really about, and that resonating with someone's experience has a lot to do with that piece of that.
Yeah.
You touch on something that you finally feel like an aha moment to, or something clicks inside of your system.
Yeah.
It's just that we're feedback looping together.
Yeah.
And then something resonates enough.
Yeah.
How long has it taken you to build the trust with that attunement?
It's still building.
Yeah.
You know? It's not. I'm not like I've arrived and there's no more trust to build. Like I think it will be that way for many, many years to come, because I'm still really humble to the experience. Like I'm like I'm cautious to sometimes say this, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, but I do, but I don't, but I do. But it's like this humility piece of like, and this is also what we were teaching in our practitioner program too. I'm like, you're like the body worker or the healer or whatever. It's like, you're not the fixer. You're not the one to like. And I think that's what sometimes has been a turn off or lacking resonance in sometimes other spaces I've been in with therapists or doctors or people that are like, I know the answer, this is it, and I'm going to fix you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of missing this moment of like, but are you willing to like see me first? Are you willing to like try to resonate with my experience first? That's what we're all wanting. I think that's the greatest gift we can ever give another human being, is like, I'm going to try to see you.
Yeah.
And see you in an attuned way that maybe you don't even know you want to be seen in.
But I come into that space with curiosity, and I come into that space with humility.
Yeah, with curiosity.
And I think it's such a dance of like I love that it's a dance, but I just feel like that is such the essence of the divine feminine too. Like, I will reveal when I feel safe, like I will show, I can be in my full expression, my full power, my full intimacy when, you know, the conditions are set and I feel seen.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's what I want all the time.
Right?
From my partner, from my friends, I'm like, where's my container? Where's my set? Like, okay, now I can like go full wild and like open that Shakti space. For sure.
So I'd love to like talk about that. Like what, when we go to these spaces, when we attune to the pelvic wisdom and start the exploration, like I want to kind of unpack all the juiciness, because I'd imagine there's like, it can go in many different,
intended.
But I'd imagine that there's like a lot that is revealed and comes out in different ways, and let's go there. Like, where do we want to go?
Well, I will say, like, why I feel I love the world of the womb and the pelvis and women's, like, sexuality is because of what you're saying. It's like, there's so much there. Like, I feel like it's one of the, like, deepest, just like take it out aside from women, like sexuality in general. It's one of the deepest topics of humanity, right? It's like, it's also one of the areas that's still like the most taboo, and there's a lot of constriction around, and there's a lot of like suffocation around in different ways. Even for like those of us that have done a lot of sexual liberation work and this and that, it's like you gotta do that work, you know? And one of my Tantra teachers, I remember saying this to me a long time ago, was like, she's like, if you want the greatest like return on your investment with like self-growth or self-transformation, like work on your sexuality. Because you're going to touch into self-love, worthiness, confidence, safety, all trauma experiences you've had in the past. How do I feel safe in society for expression, my vocal expression, my energetic expression, my creative expression, intimacy with self, intimacy with others, relationships, communication. It's like, it's everything.
Wow.
So it's...
I've never heard it said that way.
Yeah. I mean, it really is everything. And so, And it's kind of like, you could say something similar maybe with money. Like money is another area of life where there's like a lot of constriction, a lot of suffocation around, there's a lot of shadow around, this and that. There's also a lot of light. If you go to someone and work on their money stuff, you're gonna get a lot, like you're gonna figure out a lot about that person, right? I feel like sex, money, religion, those are some big ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it's like when I'm working in the pelvis, the womb, the sexuality, I'm like, I can't just keep this contained to like some, okay, it's just around your hormones.
Mechanical.
Or it's just around, your nerves and your tissues here. And like, as I'm saying that for anybody listening and stuff, for that to also not be intimidating, but for it to be like an inspiring way of like, whoa, if I chose to like deepen intimacy with myself, into my womb space, into my yoni, through whatever, pleasure, breathing, just laying a hand and touching, connecting. You know, we could talk about some of the ways that that's done, but like it's such a beautifully vast cosmic landscape to play in. Like it can be play. It doesn't need to be all like, oh my God, you're hunting all your deepest shadows and it's always going to be this arduous thing.
You don't start there.
No, it's like you get to, you're going to dance in all of the waves, but like the beauty that comes out of like connecting with that core rooted place in our lives and culture that has like so much. Like, there's a reason why there's a lot of constriction around it in our lives. It's because it's fucking epic and magical. And
it rules the world.
Exactly.
So for someone coming into session with you, and maybe they are feeling intimidated around that, what could they expect to occur if they're interested in kind of learning more about their own sexuality and journey?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little context dependent with each person, you know, and with whatever session type we're starting with. But similar to what I've already said, like we really start with creating the conditions of safety and love. Like a lot of the work, I think that's a great place. What you could expect is like we're going to start with love. Like it's core, it's foundational.
Nurturing,
support. and specifically like feeling into self-love.
Yeah.
And like that's usually in session, I would say almost always when I start to touch into heart space, that's when everything starts to crack open with people. You know, it makes sense. Because when it comes to like developing a deeper relationship to your own sexuality or intimacy with others, there is this like core foundational need for there to be a connection of like, I love myself and I can love my body and I can love my experience. And when I say love my experience, that goes so much vaster into like learning how to dance in love with some of the most challenging experiences of our lives, right? Whether that's like, I think a lot of us think of, oh, when I have a liberated sexuality or if I feel sexually empowered, it means I'm feeling bliss and ecstasy and pleasure and magic all the time. When for me and how I approach this work, it's like, actually, I want to help you feel those things. Sure, absolutely. And it's learning how to make love with all the other parts too, where we feel scared, sad, I'm grieving something, my heart is broken, I've lost something dear to me. And when we can learn to like expand our nervous system's capacity actually to, when I say make love to those things, I mean like hold with compassionate presence, our grief. When we can hold our fucking rage with understanding and resonate with ourselves in that way.
Silencing the inner critic in some ways. And speaking to our inner child from a nurturing place.
Totally.
I think also what's coming up for me is like as women, and I think there's all these external factors of how we may characterize what love should look like and what love should feel like. And there is not a lot of emphasis on what it should feel like within you, or like it's kind of like I am lovable when, I am worthy when, I have value because of these things all externally, and there's not a lot of like presence and really how do you incorporate and internalize what you're feeling. I know in I think it was one of my first sessions with you, I had this really powerful experience where I was kind of coming to you with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and I feel like it was a lot of tightness in my chest, and I just remember there was just kind of like an upside down triangle, and it was just like a lot of energy that I was holding. And then by the end of the session, I had this kind of like more, what is it, like the glass sand,
hourglass?
the hourglass, where like my womb space then became the bottom part of it, and I could feel the energy, like, oh, I remember it was a straight rod in the center of my being that was just like, ooh, and then it opened up in my womb, and that energy was then flowing, and the whole message was like, you have this capacity within you to hold it all, because I was feeling so tired and so overwhelmed, and like, how am I supposed to hold all of this anymore? I can't do it. And I was like, oh, I can like open up this space and like let it kind of circulate through.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was really powerful. I mean, it's still with me to this day.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this whole exploration of self-love is that deepening and that that more somatic experience. We're taught so much to focus on the external. And this is like a journey inward of that expression.
100%.
It seems to me like the beginning steps of something like this is really around cycle awareness and where you're at throughout the cycle. And I think one of the first things that women have to learn as they attune to their cycle is coming into acceptance of where they are in that energy. And it's okay. You know, it's okay when you're premenstrual and you feel annoyed or ugly or whatever, and loving yourself through it rather than trying to smush it down or change it or to be something else, and just accepting it and loving yourself in that and knowing that it's totally fucking normal.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to like the internal external, like I'm encouraging my young nieces, all of them, to track their cycles, because it took me so long to get to that place, and we have talked about that a lot. But like, even having a child, birthing a child, I'm much more focused on what my lower belly pooch looks like at any time of the month. And what versus like what, like really tapping in and listening and like being available to some deeper wisdom there.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think menstrual cycle tracking, that we're calling it, mentioning it, like, it is such a powerful tool. And it was my entryway into this work way back when I was like 17, 18. It was like when I got obsessed with the menstrual cycle and I started learning about it. And yes, it's like learning the hormones and the physiology and understanding that, but it's also like, I remember like one of my first, like, just those moments of life where I'm like, holy shit, what I never knew is bursting my whole brain open. This is changing my whole life, was when I sat with this woman. At the time I was living in South America, I was in Peru, and she gave me this like whole kind of like deep dive cyclical wisdom women's circle download about the menstrual cycle in relationship to like, how us women move through our seasons of our cycle and how that's really connected to the greater cosmic experience of this world.
Absolutely.
And I was just like, oh my God, finally I understand
we're in
myself.
alignment with that?
But it was just like that, similar to what we were talking about. It's the deep resonating. I was like, oh, that's why I feel what I feel.
Yeah,
oh,
and there's nothing wrong with me.
That's why this is happening. And not only is this like, nothing's wrong, but I'm like, this is fucking intelligent.
Yes.
Look, it's all around us. Like, the world works this way, literally. And I'm
everything connected to the moon.
Yeah. And then usually what follows that, like, what I found for myself and what I see often in women is when we have these when we learn about our cycle and we learn this wisdom, it's this aha, fuck yes, and then we get fucking rageful.
Yeah.
Because we're like, God damn it, why is this like wisdom hidden? Why was I never taught this? Why have I
Yes.
gone 20,
I'm still
30,
pissed.
40 years without people talking to me about this stuff? Like, why is this so tamped down, you know? So
It's nuts.
that's normal too.
Well, we have started scheduling rage sessions once a month.
Hell yeah.
We did
Rage
one
rituals.
rage ceremony. It was actually after your retreat.
Hell yeah.
And it was super powerful, like really powerful.
We did a couple of the exercises that we did in your retreat.
love
What do we
that.
call it? Emotional theater. We did that out
Yes.
there under the tree.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I'm coming next time.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about it for years now. One year I got Kelly, I was like, we'll go to the rage room because we always kind of joke around about our rage.
And connect over it.
Yeah. And we just hadn't done it. And then it was really with scheduling the podcast and knowing that we need to go based on our cycles and that like we need, I think for this year, I've really learned how, and especially in the last 6 months, like how much more embodiment practices I need in my life.
Yeah.
And this just felt like a really great way to be like, let's just fucking rage out together.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think next time I need to send my HOA a message, just like let you guys know we're
There
doing
will be.
healing and ceremonies over here. So if you hear any
Guttural
like
screaming.
blood curdling screams or crying or shouting, everything's fine. Don't call the police.
Yeah, celebrate us. Give us a little clap.
Yeah, just hold space.
Cheers on. Yeah,
You're like, what
totally.
are these people doing?
Yeah.
But it's amazing.
Witches on the mountain.
Yeah, that's right. Guaranteed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a direction we could go as witches. But, so I guess talking about an embodiment practice, I know we mentioned this yesterday, this word that's really a buzzword right now. But what is one ritual or embodiment practice you recommend to women who want to reawaken part of themselves, this part of themselves? And when?
Well-
when in the cycle?
I mean, I'll just go with what first came to mind, which actually surprised me. But in a celebration of even what we were talking about earlier with trusting the field, I'm like, I'll just go with this. I love a good practice where a woman is guided into like I actually have a practice. I could like give it to your people and I could do a free linked thing. It's a mixture of like breath work, visualization practice, and some self-touch breast massage all around self-love.
Yeah.
You know, because I like self-love as being this entry point into softening the armoring around our hearts and like getting into a little bit of what is held there and bringing in like this nourishment of self, right? It's like I think most women rarely touch their own bodies. So whether it's like, I mean, I just mentioned this practice, but like I would say like touch your body.
Yeah.
Touch your body. Like there's all sorts of ritual practices you could do, like we were just describing, like rage rituals and breathwork practices and all that, and I love them all. And like what I'm a body worker in a lot of my work, and what I'm constantly encouraging my clients to more and more at the end of session when they're like, what do I do next? Like how do I, more, I'm like, just put your hands on your body, like lay your hands on your womb, give yourself a little womb massage. Touch your hands on your vulva, like give yourself a little internal pelvic floor massage. Touch your breast and breathe into your heart space, and like starts to bring this beautiful touch of like skin to skin to your flesh, and breathe and feel. And as you feel what you're feeling, actually let yourself sound through that, let yourself move through that, whether that's with emotions or laughter or tears, and breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe. And I think like that, I always say this to my clients in session, like if our bodies, if we view it like an instrument and like play the instrument of your body, like what would you guess those things be? It's like you breathe, you create sound, you let yourself move. You know, it's like those tools I think are so basic, they're free, you don't need anything from them. Like just breathe and sound and move and be in that present connection of like tuning into the sensations in your body, right? So like we can have all these emotions up too, and like, yeah, be with your emotions. But like when you're crying or when you're feeling that rage, can you actually attune to like how that rage is moving through my body? Is it like this fiery piece that's coming up through my throat, and like, oh my God, now the back of my throat feels really constricted, and like, oh, sound that experience. Or like, oh, I feel like this frozenness, like where does that kind of, like I'm laying here and it feels hard to touch my breast, it feels like I'm scared to. It's like, track that a little bit, like, oh yeah, it feels like ice around the back of my chest. It's just like, so being in that deeper curiosity with self, you don't have to like overthink about it. Yeah. But like main practice of that is like, what do I feel? Where do I feel it? What do I feel? Where do I feel it? Yeah. It's such a nice, like even 2-minute practice to do in the middle of your day when you're wanting to just come into connection. It's like, I feel like pain in my right shoulder. I feel this tingling in my left hip. I feel like some jitteriness around my heart. I just noticed I was actually talking quite fast there. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Like, I already feel I'm like a little more connected to myself. You know, it's like, the simple practices.
Is that the type of practice that you would recommend for someone in an experience when they're very much in their head and in the thinking space and trying to get more into being able to tap into what's in their body and ultimately embodiment?
Yeah, I would. I think that for our most high-strung type A folks,
caffeinated people like me
witches,
yesterday,
when the head is like, you know, like sometimes that practice of being like, what do you feel? Where do you feel it? It feels like a longer stretch away because you're like, I don't know, I just feel buzzed. I'm not even connected to my body. You know? So that's when I'm like, cool, let's do a little movement, shake it out a little bit, like getting into the body and through dance, I think is great. You know, put on a song and let it be less of dance I'm dancing for and just moving the soul through your body. Through, like,
and I love that physical touch element because like just it's so simple. You can do it anywhere. You can do it while you're driving. Just like just giving some physical touch. I have a specific question that came up that I'm curious about. Well, I'm curious about the jaw-pelvic connection. And, you know, we talk and we're learning a lot about, like, perimenopause. So I just know jaw issues, and, like, I've experienced a lot of shoulder stuff, too, at this age, which I have heard is very common with women. But yeah, can you talk a little bit about why they're connected and what that relationship is?
100%. I love this. So we'll start with some just basic physiology of it, which is like, I think it's day 16 of conception. Where the embryo starts to grow and the spine grows, it's like the jaw and the pelvis are connected there. The jaw isn't there yet, the pelvis isn't there yet, but it's literally grown from the same line of connective tissue. And that connective tissue continues to grow all throughout pregnancy, and then it's the same line of, so like in our bodies we have all these different fascial lines, and the same there's one line in particular that connects the jaw and the pelvis, like through the midline all the way down to the toes and up behind the ears. So like on a physical level there's this huge connection. There's more physical connections with like the dural tube in the spine and all these other pieces, but for you anatomy nerds, you know, just a little flavor of that for you. And then
love that.
So but then even if you just kind of like think about the pelvis and you think about the jaw, it's like they're both these avenues of expression, right? They're both areas where we express ourselves from, and we open and receive in these areas, especially for women, right? Like we're receiving when we're like, you know, we receive through our vagina, we receive things in through our mouth, we pour out from these areas. Like it's these channels of connection and a creative expression and self-expression. Most of the time, and like when you think about just where you hold the most tension in your body too, you were just talking about, like most people have jaw tension, even if they don't like feel pain. Once you touch someone's jaw, like you're like, oh yeah, it's tight. Kind of like everyone has neck tension more or less, you know? Jaw and pelvis. Yeah, I don't touch your jaw because it's tight.
I can just feel it.
I had acupuncture once in my jaw, and I swear that needle almost shot out of my jaw.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that, too. It's like when we think about how our primal body protects. I'm doing the motion if you're watching. Like, you go inwards, you curl forward, you protect your vital organs. It's just like, and everything constricts inwards, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, even when I do that motion, I can feel my pelvis and, like, this tighten up.
Yeah.
And most of us live like that.
And I also think of it as like, this is where I'm ready at any moment in time to protect myself.
Totally.
This is where,
Yeah.
Yeah.
To speak, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And then there's all the energetic stuff with it. It's like when, like, all of us women who have been sexually assaulted, raped, sexually abused, like, there's a quite literal, like, silencing of, like, you go quiet. Whether you actually went quiet in that moment or not, it's like this thing that you have to hold.
Yeah.
And it shuts down. Even if it wasn't, like, a big T trauma, like you were overtly sexually assaulted,
Right.
like, I think most of us women, I have never met a single woman who has not talked about their experiences in sex where they didn't, they allowed something to happen that wasn't right for them,
some
right?
level of trauma.
Yeah.
And they could have said
Then
the
they could have
thing.
said something and they didn't, and it's like, okay. And so, like, that's such, like, I want to normalize that in some ways. It's not ideal, but also it's like, you're not broken if that happened. Like, I freaking did that last week, you know? It's not like, it's not like it's like once you have your expression all figured out or something, you don't also be like, oh shit, I did that again, you know?
Yeah.
But going back to the jaw pelvic thing, it's like there's just so much tied in there. And so when I'm working with women's bodies and they want to work on their pelvis or have pelvic tension or things like that, I start at the jaw.
Yeah.
And we work down, you know? And a lot of women, when they also are like, oh, it feels a little too intimate, a little too scary to go towards the pelvis, even if that's in your own self-practice, like, start at your jaw.
Yeah.
Because it's when you can open up above and start to literally release that tension here and start to sound and create some expression in your voice, it will reverberate all the way down. And, like, just think about, like, when a woman's giving birth, like, the innate primal instinct is that, like, just opening and, like, it literally opens everything to release and it tones our vagus nerve and that goes through our vocal cords and all the way down and ends at our cervix. Like, when we work on that connection in that type of way, starting from the jaw and just even holding the visualization in your mind that as you're breathing through your mouth and softening in the back of your throat and letting out some gentle, like, hums or moans, like, that absolutely is, you're playing this whole instrument, right?
Cool.
And you're opening and opening and opening. So there's so many pathways to work with the pelvis without even, like, directly working at the pelvis.
Or
even having to, like, touch yourself there if you're like, I need to warm up and take it slow, or, you know, whatever. So jaw pelvic connection, there's so much there.
I have another random-ish question about the pelvis. How does someone know if their pelvic floor is tight or too loose, like too open? A woman.
Yeah.
That's a whole other topic, those men.
Well, I would say, like, on a practical answer to that is, like, an assessment from someone skilled at it. But, like, you can kind of, I would say, like, a personal test that I would encourage people to try is, like, put one finger inside of your pelvis, inside of your vagina, and, like, on your exhale, squeeze, and just see if you can, like, get a nice, you know, round squeeze around your finger, and then inhale, release. People often mess up that breathing. There's a whole, okay, so you inhale.
Isn't it the flower analogy that you used to give me?
Yes, I was talking about that because our pelvic floor is like a diaphragm. It literally should move.
Right.
It's meant to move. It does. Most people's pelvic floors, a lot of people's pelvic floors are pretty fixed, meaning they're a little bit frozen from all this tension that we hold in our lives.
Yeah.
And it doesn't breathe. Same with our thoracic diaphragm. I don't think not many of us actually breathe fully.
I try to always put my hands on my ribs now when I take a deep breath.
Pilates is
that
teaching me about
that 360
Yeah.
breath. So it's like we breathe in through the thoracic diaphragm, but as we take this inhale, there should be this synchronization all the way down into the pelvic floor, into the pelvic diaphragm, where as you breathe in, I kind of visualize it as like a flower kind of blossoming open down towards your feet. As you breathe in, think about it like everything expands. You're inhaling, moving things out, and then as you exhale, there's a natural recoil. Like you don't tighten, you're not clenching, but you're just kind of like, let's go.
Yeah.
And so like when you talk about like tight pelvic floor, loose pelvic floor, you can have a tight pelvic floor and a weak pelvic floor at the same time. It can be really tense, but it can be very weak.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have, like, can't articulate the muscle well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think it's probably, you know, I don't know. I think that question goes back to like, oh yeah, she had a tight pussy kind of thing.
Oh my God,
Whereas
so much of
like understanding pelvic floor health or like toning or like why as women through our entire journey of life it's important to have an understanding of like anatomically
that's right.
like what's going on and why having that awareness is so important because I mean after I had a baby or you know when I was at a certain age I mean you just hear these things right in like culture but like there's so many other ways of reframing it.
Because it's not just your vagina muscles. It's also these muscles at the base of your pelvis, right?
Yeah.
And I'm visualizing the pelvis in your office.
Yeah.
And I know because you've manipulated some of them around that weren't in my vagina.
Yeah.
And so,
there's like 20, there's so many, but there's like around 20 muscles that all connect in as a part of the conversation with the pelvic floor, including different, you know, muscles in your abdomen and of the rest of your body. But yeah, if we could debunk a myth, it's like, ladies, you don't want a tight pelvic floor. You do not want a tight pussy. Like, no you do not. Yeah. If you have a tight pussy, I'm concerned for you. Like, you're probably going to have painful sex.
Pleasurable
it's not that pleasurable.
Yeah.
You want a nice supple pelvic floor, as I like to say. You want it toned in the way of like that you have, and I'm even careful to use the word toned because then I feel like people are like, oh, Kegels and da-da-da-da. Sure. Like, yes, there's a space and a time where maybe after you've had a child or if there's been other experiences in your life where you need to develop some strength, sure, but I rarely find people need to really develop strength in their pelvic floor, and it's more of developing conscious contraction and release of the pelvic muscles. That exercise I was just describing of can you breathe in, exhale, squeeze your finger, and then release. Most people have that's not synchronized for most people. Even if you don't even have any like pelvic dysfunction, so to speak, that's mostly unsynchronized.
Yeah, because we're like holding tension.
And it's like, think about it's coming back to the jaw. It's the same thing. It's like we're holding unconscious tension constantly.
Yes.
And so it's what I just said. It's unconscious.
Yeah.
So you're not actually like in I'm
like there's
like
not
when
a
you go to
neural
the gym
pathway.
and you're like I'm gonna deadlift this thing and I'm engaging my muscles and I'm setting the weight down and I'm releasing.
Yeah. We're never releasing.
But a lot of the times the pelvis and the jaw just like doesn't release.
Well, it's
and
like
it's
a
just tight.
neural pathway. It's like proprioception.
Yep.
Of when we're lifting in the gym or when we're doing Pilates, and it's like, okay, pull in your lower ribs, pull in your lower abdomen, shoulders back, chin up, whatever the cues are. It takes, for me, in particular, a lot of practice to cue in. Like I've been working on doing handstands, and there's a whole set of 10 different things that I need to do to be able to do a successful handstand, and it's not muscle memory yet.
Yeah.
It's the same for our pelvis.
Yeah. And so even like what I just described of like testing it that way, I want to make it clear like that would be like test it, but that's not like what you're going to practice and what you're going to repeatedly do is like stick your finger in your vagina and squeeze and really like no. No.
It's that time.
It's that time.
Listen to Kelly on her Apple Watch. Okay, give me 5 minutes, guys.
Like, how is there something I can put in my vagina to track this so that I can get some data for it?
Is there an app involved?
No.
Can I put my Oura ring on my cervix?
This is great. I love these jokes because it's like setting setting me up perfectly.
She's like, I've got it.
No, it's like that's one thing you could do to test what you ask. Like, is your pelvic feel loose, tight? What do you notice? What's going on? But the practice of it is like it's coming back to build relationship and connection to your pelvis. It's not about like, here's your 1, 2, 3 step exercise. So like, if you want that, go to a pelvic floor PT. You know, like I love pelvic floor PTs for parts of healing, very specific things like that. But like, I feel like so much of when people are like, I feel disconnected and I have chronic tension and I have da-da-da-da. I'm like,
and I fucking hate my husband.
well, let's develop relationship to this part of your body. It's
How can we keep our pussies from falling out?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so much of building relationship to me. So, yeah, comes back to that self-touch piece too, self-awareness.
Yeah, well, let's talk about pleasure a little
I
bit.
kind of wanted to go there and guide a little bit into partners.
Yeah.
You know, so we've talked a little bit about embodiment with ourselves and a ritual practice for connecting to ourselves and our pelvis and just our physical body. How can we translate that into how we show up with partners and how it impacts our intimacy and partnership? Mm-hmm. How has it, let me reframe, how has it impacted your journey?
With my relationship?
Yeah.
I remember specifically going through a process in my life when I was doing one of these coaching programs, and inside of that program they had us do so many self-practices. So many. So many pleasure practices, breathing practices, meditation practices, but like it was like really heavy self-pleasure practices. And that year that I did that program, if my partner was here, I think he would say this. He was like, you fucking transformed and changed so much, and it changed our intimacy so much, and it changed our relationship so much in different ways. And so, yeah, and I think that came back to a lot of like, it's like I got to know myself in some of the deepest ways I think a person can get to know themselves.
Yeah.
I became my own best lover, you know, that year. It was great. That was one of my other teachers I remember told me once. She was like, become your own best lover. That will make you a happy person in this lifetime. But yeah, I mean, like that connection to myself really, I do feel like carried forth into my relationship with my partner in the way that I just felt more me than I think I ever had. And I think when we kind of walk with that extra like light up our spine and our backbone, like there's a magnetism that comes from that. And I think this is really something that, God, I've seen and unintentionally sometimes tested in my life, where it's like when I am connected to myself, being in that experience, it's like I literally radiate energy that attracts a certain type of energy in my life. And not outside of even like intimate romantic relationship, whether that's like with work stuff or friends or client work or things like that. There's like a radiance that we begin to carry that is like actually undoubtedly there. It just it's true. Like once you've felt it, once you've experienced it, and I feel like that is actually what is most positively impactful in like romantic relationships, is like when we women have that connection to self in a way that creates that magnetism, because it's literally coming from the inside out. And we start to relate to our partners a little bit differently sometimes, you know? And like, that's where
That's where I'm going.
Yeah, and it's like, then there's a whole dance with that too, because I will say there's this thing that I will also see, and I've heard from so many of my female clients and female friends of like, I've done all this work and like, I want to experience all this depth of love and intimacy and connection. And then sometimes women will describe it's like, but my partner won't be able to meet me in it, or my partner isn't getting it or isn't there. And I have some theories about this, but yeah, there's something to balance when we women, or any person, comes into deeper self-connection, deeper self-love, deeper connection to their sexuality, and then they want to find a match for that. It's a journey.
I feel like it's a very common experience, particularly for women who go through this. You know, they say it's like 37 to 42, or even the rate of divorce goes way through the roof when women get to this middle-aged, perimenopause, postmenopause process, because they a lot of times go through a complete reawakening, and a lot of times that's connected to their sexuality, and find that they're not happy in their relationship anymore because they've gotten to know themselves in a new way and love themselves in a new way, and they want their partner to show up in that way. And you know, we only have control over ourselves. So what is it that women can do if they find themselves in that situation?
Yeah, well, this has been some of my greatest school work the last 2 years in my partnership. I'll just share.
School, I love that.
And I've been through all sorts of things with it. One of my present moment Naema theories around a man's heart is this. So I feel that a man's heart is kind of like a woman's yoni. Stay with me for a second.
All right. I like where we're going.
In that, we just described today, like, all of the impact of how women hold so much in our pelvis and our yonis, right? All of, like, I feel like the historical experience of women for thousands of years, it's like the traumas is at the pelvis, the traumas is at the womb space, okay? So we have a lot of armoring, we have a lot of walls to break through there. Most women have to do a lot of work before they can just be in pleasure and sex with freedom, right? It's like we have to work, and we want our men, if you're in a heterosexual partnership, we want our men to be so gentle with that part of us. We want our men to approach it with so much care and love and devotion, and understanding some of our pain, and being this like, okay, I'm going to create safety, and da-da-da-da-da. We want that. And I feel this is something that I just feel like I was like, oh, I think this is what I've been missing a lot in my relationship, is like, I go to knocking at my partner's heart and I'm a little bit like, let me in.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what you feel. Like, why can't you talk to me about your emotions? Like, come on. Like, what do you mean you don't know what you're feeling right now? And I'm just like, and I just like, I feel everything. Like, how could you not feel?
Get in there without warming you up or any foreplay. Just get me in.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like a man's heart is kind of like a woman's yoni, where I think they have historically thousands of years of trauma around their hearts.
Yeah.
Going to war, killing each other. Like, they had to fucking mask and guard, and it's
Being
like this.
providers.
Yeah, and it's like, just show the fuck up and be this way and da-da-da, and like be the protectors and all of this. And if we actually as women take a moment to try to get in their experience, like we want them to be in our experiences with our bodies, I think we all start to soften a little bit to like, oh, of course it's a little hard for you to talk about the way you feel. Of course you don't really know what you feel.
How can I create pleasure around you opening?
And so I feel like it's there's something in this around women being like, I think that when you hear about like modern day polarity teachings, there's a lot of like, men create the container, create the da-da-da, the men are the leaders, women get to surrender, like all of this. And like, I'm like, yes, and like, men are the leader in some areas and women are the leader in some areas. And I feel like women are the leaders of love. And that doesn't mean that like women, you need to like be passive or take a bunch of bullshit from men if like they're, being toxic or, whatever. But men, I feel like if we women actually kind of, this is my active practice, so like stay tuned. But like, my active practice is, can I open my heart even when you're not opening to me in the way that I want you to, and can I lead with my heart to open your heart, as opposed to this like, give me what I want, open your heart to me, tell me exactly what you feel, and be the leader, be the magician, be that witch, be that like priestess of opening the man's heart space.
And I love that. Like, well, how do we expect men to create safety for us in a physical sense, whether it's a home or making money or being available, or when we're in bed, like, so I, am open to receiving.
Yeah.
And then to turn that around with like how we approach their heart space. That's really, really helpful.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
I love that Naema theory.
It's still going to be really hard.
It's hard, and I was about to say it's really, really hard. Like, it's really hard.
But it comes back to that dance.
Yeah.
That we opened up the topic, the whole conversation about, like, we're all doing a dance, but it takes curiosity and it takes humility. And I think a lot of times as women, because we're having maybe such a deeper experience, we think we know. But I often felt in my marriage, like, I'm trying to lead you into this conversation, but I have no fucking idea where I'm going with it. I just know that I'm doing everything I can in order to have you meet me, but I'm like lost in the woods. Just like, come find me, like, I want to get you there, but once I get there, then we could be in trouble.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, like, to, and I don't know, I think attuning to men in a way where you can sense their walls and their boundaries and actually respect them.
Yeah. I think I've like kind of done a little casual polling of my male friends. I love it. What do you want most, like, from women in some ways? And like one of the comments is like respect. I want respect.
Yeah.
And I think that one of my greatest, I could call it regrets, or like where my shadows have been in my relationship with my male partner, is like losing patience, and then like that comes in, like, I start to disrespect him. And then it just creates the very thing I don't want to happen, I'm creating. That, like, why aren't you? And it's just like, can you respect my brain? Can you respect the way I work? Can you respect, even if it is so fucking frustrating sometimes.
Hard. Yeah.
Like, it is so hard. These are high ninja skills, I feel.
And it's also core wounding. Like, we've done some polling ourselves of, like, what we hear reoccurring is like, just nothing I do is ever going to be good enough.
Yeah.
It's always, you always want more out of me.
Yeah, men saying this.
As their core wounding.
I've had my partner say that to me.
Yeah,
so
mine too.
I think all of us have. A lot of women hear that.
And I think that's part of the shadow of the feminine, of women.
Yeah,
it's like we want more.
Yeah.
Like, and we were actually talking about this a little bit yesterday, Kelly and I, of like this piece of like why it's therefore so goddamn important for women to have so many other types of connections, women and friendship, because I'm like, there are experiences that women have in their lives that men are never gonna get.
Absolutely.
And it's not like, oh, and they're dumb and they don't get it. No, it's like, they're not gonna get it. They're
not
not
possible.
a woman.
Yeah.
Like, let's stop expecting them to try to get these things. Like, outsource your needs a little bit.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have to like let go of creating the depth of connection that you do want in your relationship with your male partner, but it's not going there for everything. And it's like, getting together with your female friends and raging it out and talking about what your heart is feeling in the depths, and like as we are here, we can just sit here and talk for fucking ever.
Oh yeah.
And we love it. And we're like, this is the best.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're like, yo, let's just
Where's the activity?
We're just getting more and more building.
So it's
we
like,
keep going deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, outsource some of your needs and not continually just like demand and claw at your partner over like every like, I want to talk about, you were saying this yesterday, you're like, I just am like an external processor, and I just like to like...
Yeah, there's a soul in the room, I'm talking.
Yeah. And there actually doesn't need to be a soul.
No, I can be talking to the dog, which I do that.
Well, I just love how this conversation, about like pelvic wisdom has like come back to the masculine.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I guess that I just want to say, for anyone listening who is curious about the work that you do, or any kind of embodiment practice, that it's like it's such a fun journey to start. And it's so simple and it's so innate. And you are an incredible practitioner and teacher. And this journey to self-love, I think it just continues to get deeper and deeper. And for us, especially as women who like create new relationships by having children or in partnerships, and really like coming back to self and understanding ourselves more deeply is such a pivotal, important piece of it.
It's like, it's an answer to the majority of our problems that we face in the world.
Yeah.
Is our relationship with ourselves.
Yeah.
How we nurture ourselves, how we love ourselves, how we understand ourselves, how we hold space for ourselves.
Yeah, because I think we're programmed to look externally.
Yeah.
You know, who's the person who's going to fix us?
Especially women.
Yeah.
How we're cultured in Disney movies and just general culture of how to expect all of this from our male partner, or even from anything outside of ourselves.
Everything. Yep.
It's not taught in our culture, and I think that's the biggest takeaway. Is how to care for yourself is the answer.
Yeah.
Developing that relationship with self.
Yeah.
And you're such a facilitator for that. Like that internal exploration.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's incredible.
There's one thing that I would add to that too, which is like to summarize all, like bring that all together, which is like, it is so much of this self, right? Relationship to self. And I think also, I can imagine people listening to this might also feel a moment of overwhelm with that.
Totally.
Of like, oh God, it's up to me. And like, I've got to figure out how to be my own best friend and love myself and give myself everything. And there's two things I want to say to that. One, we are inherent relational beings. We actually aren't. There can be a shadow of self-love, of like the self-love culture of you gotta love yourself the best before you're gonna get the love you want and all of that. And I'm like, we're born into the world and we're put in somebody else's arms and they teach us what love is and we survive. Yeah. Like literally, babies don't get love, they die. We are relational beings. We are meant to learn love by experiencing love and being loved. So it is a lot about self-love, but it's not that you have to figure out love all on your own. Yeah, we figure out love together. Yeah. The second piece to that is I feel like developing your relationship to your higher power is a huge piece in all of this. Whatever your higher power is, God, universe, Mother Earth, the cosmos, whatever your God is, you can make your God up and like find relationship to a higher power, work with the unseen. This thing of like, yes, it comes from so much within us, like this journey of like we go in, but then it's like we go in and we feel God within us, around us. And it's like developing relationship with the unseen forces of play in this universe that are always fucking there. And I think that is one of the biggest pieces out of some of the work that when my clients experience these moments in sessions sometimes, it's like, it's because God's in the room, or you know, it's like, and it's not just like feeling into the self-love, it's feeling into the infinite universal consciousness of love here. And like that is what gives us force and vitality and life, and I will conquer and I will keep going even when I'm like crawling on my hands and knees on the ground in this grief. Like I know that there's something bigger and wider than me I can tap into and plug into. Because it isn't just this like solo self-love journey.
And that I'm supported by.
And knowing you're so fucking supported.
And my womb is connected directly to that source and is what brings in more beings and creates.
And even as we say that, I'm like, oh, God's more in the room now. And it's like, and it's not that God's more here now. It's like we're a little more permeable. It's like, oh yeah, I can feel that.
The veil is thinner.
So...
It's beautiful.
I love that.
Such a wise woman you are. You too, Erin.
You too, ladies.
That's great. I mean, that was a beautiful way to wrap it up.
Yes, thank you both.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Woo. Echoes of home. Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.